Support for this episode is provided by listeners like you. If you'd like to be a part of the great people keeping this show going, please visit thelancast.com/donate. Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
And I'm Jason Mundok from Woodstove House, where it just so happens to be warm tonight, unlike this place.
This is Guys Night in the Meat Locker. It is very, very cold here.
Yeah, I forgot to turn the heat on earlier today.
Yeah, thanks, Keith.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Lancast isn't paying the electric bill, okay? Hi.
That is very true.
All right, and we've got questions from the audience. My first question comes from Ray, and he asks, if you had to, under penalty of suffering of your loved ones, which member of the Golden Girls
in the mob
would you be romantically involved with? He may be.
The mob is forcing this on us.
That's a really nice family. I'd hate to see something bad happen to them. Yeah?
Go ahead and date one of these old ladies.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say Betty White, mainly because she's the only one I know her name, and she's pretty funny.
There was the little one, right? There was like she was short and real scratchy. Yeah,
the one that was like the oldest of the olds?
She's definitely,
she was like the mom.
Yeah, I would date her for sure.
Yeah, I was going to go with her too because she was really sarcastic and funny.
Yeah, she'd be a great time.
Yeah, I don't remember the other ones.
Betty White was just stupid.
And then Maude.
Whoa. Don't attack. That's like
No, I don't mean. I mean, like she was just like
thing.
She was just like not stupid bad. Like her character was stupid. Like she just ditzy.
There was Maude.
Maude?
Yeah.
Which one was Maude?
She's one that like smoked.
Tall and real
tall, and she sounded
diner
like
waitress kind of voice.
Talked like she.
I'm sticking with the one I know.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Okay. Move along. Okay, so Matt Friggum asks, when did you first fall in love with pizza?
I don't know if I've fallen in love with pizza, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not a pizza lover?
I like pizza.
Just not like, you don't dream
love
about it?
No, I don't dream about pizza.
Keith, do you dream about pizza?
I don't.
You
I
do.
don't dream about pizza.
Yeah,
I like pizza a lot, but I don't. I think I probably fell in love with pizza where I really liked it the first time I ate it at like one of those mom pop small pizza, establishments. That had the, where it's like the guys, none of them speak English, and they're all, "Yeah, you want pizza?" Yeah. That's where I had the.
That's your love. That's your love affair.
That's where when I had pizza there. That's when I was like,
"Oh, this
pizza!
Is, yeah.
I love pizza."
Well, I got to go back to college. I worked in a pizza shop for a summer, pizza pub, and I don't know if I fell. If I fell in love with pizza, I fell out of love. It was a short-lived romance. But they would make
it's like a one-night stand.
It was more like a 3-month stand.
3-month stand.
So
you finally realized I can't do this.
It was definitely me, not them. But they made a fresh dough pizza in squares. It was like on a cookie sheet.
Okay.
Called Harry's. I don't know why. I can't remember why they called it Harry's. So typically they had the frozen. It was like wasn't a frozen crust, but it was like a pre-made crust.
Yeah.
Kind of a thick crust pizza. Their typical, this is the pizza that you order on a regular night. And then one night a week, I think it was Monday, they had this Harry's, which was like a fresh dough, rectangular cookie tray.
Neapolitan.
I don't know. I don't really know anything about pizza.
Called?
Yeah, I think it's
Pizza?
called Neapolitan. Squares Neapolitan.
But then they would cut it in squares. It was 50 cents a square. So you'd come in, and what they would do is they would keep it there, like in some of those pizza shops, like the one in the mall. I can't think of the name of it. But
you got the warmer.
Yeah, they would keep it under the warmer, and then you'd say, give me 8 slices of Harry's, because they were small. And then you could get toppings on them, and then they would run them through the conveyor, and you would eat them. Well, when you worked there, you were allowed to take home whatever Harry's wasn't eaten or purchased. And because it was fresh dough and they made it that day, you would pretty much cook all the dough. So there would be boxes of this stuff at the end of the night that guys like me would take home and eat for 3 or 4 days.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty sweet, but quickly
You got sick.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
got
pizza
sick
very
of it.
quickly.
Yeah, and then after that, I don't know.
I don't know when I fell in love with it because I've always liked pizza. Because I've always liked cheese, but for sure I went to this place called Pizza many years ago. There's one in Exton, and it's basically like that. They make you say what you want, like what slice you put in, but it's all specialty stuff, like and crazy things like macaroni and cheese on a pizza, like all this crazy stuff.
So are you into that, or are you a purist?
Oh man, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely into it.
Like you want
there are
the
some
exotic.
things I'm like, no, but
Right.
they have really good white pizza, buffalo pizza, really good stuff. So I guess that's probably me. I don't know when that was, but if I had to think of like when I was like, oh, that's the best
Brings
pizza.
up the whole thing, especially gourmet pizza versus just like your regular.
Vinny's from down the street.
Yeah. The specialty pizza, like, it's cool once in a while. Like I like it, but I gotta say when I really want a slice of pizza, I just want a slice of just plain
Cheese.
just cheese, red sauce pizza.
Really?
Where do you go here?
I usually go down to Dominion.
All right, right on.
Dominion, right around the corner here. They make good pizza, and it's pretty inexpensive.
They were the bad guys in Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
I expected to get a small chuckle from Jason on that one, but
I'm too cold to chuckle.
it's too cold to care.
My cheeks.
Whatever.
I couldn't get it out. I couldn't.
I just want everybody to know it's 12 degrees in here. All right, so this isn't like I'm being a wuss.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
we can see our breath while we're
Yeah. Well, it's getting warmer, hopefully. So, well, okay. So, do you have a preference of like fresh or frozen?
definitely fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh pizza, fresh made.
Do you avoid frozen?
No, I don't avoid. I don't mind frozen. I'll eat it.
Purist.
But
He's a snob.
I am
Yeah,
a snob. But
serious.
if I had to choose,
Yeah,
he
you're choosing
has
fresh.
preference. If I had to choose preference over, frozen pizza or something made fresh I'll take the fresh, definitely.
What's the story with school pizza?
Oh man, our school.
Our school pizza was terrible.
What? It was amazing.
No
It was
way,
$1
man.
a slice. It was so good.
Was it like real
you thought it was
pizza,
good.
or was it that thick stuff?
No, it
That
was
was
thick
real
and it was like full of grease,
greasy.
man. It
Yeah,
was
people
so.
would put napkins on it and just like pick them up, and you could look through them.
Squeeze the grease out of the napkin because it was so.
It was so good.
Our school
we
made
obviously,
this.
we obviously had different opinions of our school's pizza.
I would say we had. It was just sort of this thick. It was almost like this thick bread.
Oh,
Squares. It was square pizza, and the sauce was just. I don't know. It wasn't pizza.
so it was like they got French bread and just put.
It was something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, my mom tried pulling that on me a bunch of times as a kid.
Yeah, right. This is
I
pizza.
mean, I still ate it, but
Yeah, it's not pizza.
yeah, it's not pizza. Yeah.
Thomas's English muffins with sauce and stuff.
Oh, that's good though. I like Thomas's
Oh no,
English
it's good,
muffin.
but it's still.
But it's not pizza.
No, it's not pizza.
Thomas's English muffin with sauce and cheese.
Cheese.
On it.
Yeah. You got another question for us, Keith?
Sure. If you had to, under penalty of, no, I don't know. You didn't say that.
With
this
your
time.
Golden Girls
with your girl,
girlfriend.
if you had to cut off one finger, which one?
Right hand pinky.
Right hand pinky.
Pinky.
David. Wait, that was real quick. That was a real quick
he
answer. I gotta
knew.
go back.
Do you have both
Why
your
would you be your
pinkies?
right hand pinky?
Because as a bass player, it's the least used.
Huh?
It's the least
Really?
used finger for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I definitely. I need all 5 on my left hand.
Right.
I couldn't live without the thumb on the right, so that we're going to eliminate the thumb. Like I need the thumb.
Right.
We're going to eliminate it. We're going to keep it,
Yeah. And
and then
Take it out as an
that leaves
option.
the other 4 digits
Yeah.
and the pinky. Yeah. As
So, do you remember we had a teacher, Mr. Hoover.
he was missing his pinky.
He was missing half of his pinky, and he would always go, "You want one of these?" He was a shop teacher.
Yeah, he was. It was.
Is that how he did it?
No.
It was like a car belt, right?
No. When he told us the story, he said he fell. He was at a pool and he was running and he fell and broke it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he told our
See,
shop class. So.
We heard that he was working on a car, and it got caught. In
Oh, well,
like
he
a
actually. I
belt.
was there. He actually told us.
Oh, okay.
He actually told us the story. He was at a pool and he was horsing around. He said, and running. He said, I shouldn't have been doing it, and he fell, and he fell on the cement and like snapped his finger back. And they couldn't save
Careful,
it.
it's cold enough you can actually do
It
that.
might break off now. I think Jason just snapped the finger off. Yeah, I said I'd almost rather cut it off in a table saw than the way he lost it.
Good friend of mine just cut a fingertip off.
Wow. Oh man,
He's
I
a
don't.
woodworker, yeah.
I would have to go with one of my pinkies. I don't know which one. I'm gonna go with left pinky. I don't know why. Keith is gonna say his wedding finger, so that he can mac on the ladies, isn't he?
I don't know. I wear my ring around my neck anyway, so I'd have to go with Jace. I mean, it makes the most logical sense as a guitar player. My right pinky is my least used.
Yeah.
Although it depends on how much. If it's the whole finger going off, because I could lose like the first joint of my left thumb and still be able to play the guitar all right, because I don't really use it to play.
Well, okay. So would you rather lose a finger or 2 toes?
Or 2 toes? I'd rather lose 2 toes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take the toes.
That affects your balance like hardcore.
Yeah, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
My uncle doesn't have any toes.
I don't need to walk.
None. A toeless fella.
Toeless fella, and when he wiggles his toes, it's just like it's hard to explain. It's just like his foot stops where your toes would start, and then it just like waves when the bones move. It's really weird. So I guess
Was he born that way, or did he come
No,
on?
he was back when mowers didn't have like when you let go of them, they turn off.
Yeah.
He was mowing and he slipped under the mower. Lost his toes.
That's the second time tonight that Jason...
He also had his nose cut off and sewn back on, because back before fans had grills on the front, he was leaning back in his chair and there was a...
Seriously?
Yeah, there was a filing cabinet and the fan was on top and he leaned back and the fan fell on his face and chopped his nose off. So he has a scar.
Anything else? I mean,
He had malaria. Almost died from malaria.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that before the safety gauges were involved that he got into?
Before
Did he
breaks.
accidentally stick his head in a microwave before they had doors?
Man.
Oh yeah.
That reminds me of a friend of mine's uncle who was a Vietnam vet. I met him when I was in college around 1990, and he was a really intimidating guy, and I was really a not intimidating guy. And so I was like, I was going to hang out with my buddy back in his hometown, and I met this uncle, and he was a crazy guy. I mean, he was like the kind of guy that shoots guns at midnight on New Year's and that sort of thing. So I stayed the night, and the next morning I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and he was standing out on the back porch, and I noticed he didn't have a toe. Like, his big toe was missing. And I'm remembering my buddy telling me it was in the war, and I'm thinking, this war thing? And I don't know how it came up, but the toe came up, and I was like, oh, man, I'm really sorry you lost your toe. War thing? He's like, nah, I cut it off with a lawnmower. I was like, oh. So you made it through Vietnam and came home and cut your toe off with a lawnmower. Apparently they didn't have the safety thing yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Exactly. Okay, so Jasmine Grimm asks, what's the funniest way you've ever been shot down by a girl? Are there any funny ways?
I've never been shut down.
Only heart-wrenching.
Okay, let's flip it around. What's the funniest way you've ever shot down a girl? It's funny the other way around.
That was always nice.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been shot down in a funny way. Those are delicate situations. Nor do I think I've ever shot down. Have I ever shot down anyone in a funny way? It's been a long time, fellas.
Any weird
been a long time.
situations? You didn't have the ladies all up on?
They were all up on.
All up on? You knew what I was going for.
No. I mean, there were some that just didn't work out.
Yeah.
One was a lesbian.
She shot you down because she was a lesbian?
We dated once or twice, and
then she became a
And then
lesbian.
she became a lesbian. All right.
that'll knock a guy's esteem for a ride, wouldn't it? Yeah. Next time I saw her, she was with a
I ain't
girl.
doing this again.
I was like, yeah, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
So I don't know if that's funny. I mean, it's not ha-ha funny.
Yeah, I think we're looking for like situational funny, even if it's you shutting someone down or vice versa. I don't think I ever asked a girl and had her be like mean funny or awkwardly funny. It's always been very polite.
Yeah.
But I've definitely had situations that were comical later where
I've never had. Okay, here's a situation. I get this kind of fits into this. I had one time a girl called me, and the only reason she called me is because friends of mine had been at a diner, and she had been flirting with them, and so they gave her my number.
Score! It was hilarious. I take back my
3 years later, we were married.
And now Lauren is... No, I'm just... no. And then the girl called me. But fortunately, when we were
So you had
hanging out...
no idea what was going on?
Fortunately, one time we were hanging out, they couldn't hold it back, so they were like, so did someone call you? And we're like joking around, and I was like, no. And then I figured it out of one of them that they'd left my number with someone, and then that night is when she called me. So I knew that they'd given my number already.
Right.
I'd found out. I wasn't supposed to know, but I'd found out.
And she called you.
And then she called me.
Yeah.
And
So how did you handle that? Where'd you go?
Well, at first I tried to play along. I tried to be like, yeah, and I was the guy there, and everything like that. And then I just couldn't do it anymore, so I just kind of like confessed to her. I said, look, my buddies left my number there. I wasn't there, and she's like, well, do you mind if I still call you? And I was like, well, I don't care, I guess. But I was like, you're really desperate. But
Did you ever meet her?
no, I never met her. She never called again. But yeah, so that was my sort of fits the question thing. So because I kind of shut the girl down, but she didn't technically ever meet me, and I never really met her. So
I've always been really clueless when girls are like all bonds. Like, I don't realize it till later. I'm like, crap. This wasn't an crap moment because I was engaged at the time, but I was commuting to school at Temple Ambler, and I was commuting to school at Temple Ambler, and I would every couple days, I don't even remember what day of week it was or whatever, I would go to the one study room, and there was this girl, and we started talking about, like, I started helping her with math, whether or not she needed the help or not, who knows really, but she was like
asking me for help, and it was like we would always meet, and it was around lunchtime, and like she was flirty, but I was kind of like whatever, I didn't live on campus, so I never saw her outside of that situation. One day she saw me, like I didn't see her for a couple days, and one day she saw me on the path, and she stops me, and she's like, hey, do you want to go see The Return of the King on opening night with me? And I was like, man, I live really far away, and I have tickets like to see it with other people. And she's like, are you sure? We can, you can stay over. And I was like, no, I have other plans. Like, people will be really disappointed. Like, this sounds like a lot of fun. She's like, my brother's out of town, and you can stay at my house.
You can stay over.
Emphasizing that we can sleep together. And I'm like, no, if you want to go see it another time, like, I'll go see it again. Like, I'm going to want to see it more than once. And, like, she had this, like, really confused look on her face because here she is offered it up, and I'm totally not getting it. This one friend comes over to her, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, let's go. And I never saw her again.
That was it.
That was it. She never showed up to study again.
All of a sudden started doing pretty good at math.
Yeah, all of a sudden started doing really good at math. And then, like, it was literally as she was walking away, I was like,
Wait, no, wait.
I was engaged. No, I didn't pursue her at the time. So, anyway, she was cute, too. I do remember that. So, all right, moving on. Anna Mensinger asks, would you eat an entire can of frosting?
Absolutely not. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. I can't do, like...
I usually scrape it off the cake and eat the cake without it.
Really?
Well, I don't go that far. That's kind of weird.
I don't like frosting.
Well,
it depends. It depends on the It depends on if it's like homemade, like buttermilk frosting. But hey,
I don't like frozen pizza. Frosting.
I never said I didn't like frozen pizza. You asked if I'd like fresh or frozen. Well, of course, I'd like fresh better.
I like frosting on cake.
I wouldn't eat it.
I'm not opposed to it, but I wouldn't spoon it out and just sit there and eat it.
Do you lick like the stuff when they put it on a cake, like the leftover in the bowl or anything?
Do I lick the stuff?
Like the on the spatula.
Oh, I'd knock that back. Yeah.
I lick the stuff?
Again, it depends on what kind. If it's like a cream cheese, like homemade cream cheese frosting, yeah, I'll lick that. But the white stuff that comes out of the can or that goes, no way, that stuff is just like pure sugar.
All right.
Unanimous no on that one. Okay. Chris Hall asks, "What's the worst date you've ever been on?" Do we have one that we want to share?
That we remember?
That we remember?
Worst date I've ever been on.
I know I've been on some whoppers back in the day, but man, they're eluding me. I think it's one of those things you block out.
Yeah. Well, it's just that Suzanne is so amazing
Yes.
that you just don't even remember the other
She just
girls.
blocks everything else out from every other date.
Same with Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were some dates, but nothing really. You know what I mean? I remember what. Well, no, I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay, there was a date I went on in. When I was pretty young, actually. I don't think I could even drive yet. It was like at somebody's house, like they had a party, and that was like they. But see, the thing is, I didn't know it was a date because I thought it was just a party. And so I got dropped off at this girl's house, and we're having this party and stuff like that. And I guess this girl it was kind of one of those things where the girl was like really into me, and I kind of didn't even realize it, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And the whole thing was terrible because this other guy was at the party that really liked her, and so the whole night he was like pissed off at me and trying to like do whatever he could to like get me, like prank me or beat me up or do something like that, and I didn't even know why.
So it wasn't really a date.
So it wasn't really a date.
It was just a bad night.
It was just a really bad night,
Yeah.
though. Yeah, but then I found out at the end of the night that she had me there because she was like trying to like mac on me or whatever, or whatever women do to men.
I will say one thing about bad dates, and that is that I did pretty well in high school. I was a popular kid, and I dated girls, and it was cool. Like, and then I went to college, and things started to go south somewhere in the middle there of those 4 years. I don't know, maybe my sophomore year. Like, things weren't going well, and I look back now and I realize that I just became. I mean, I can totally see it now. You know what I mean? I was a mess. I was just a mess, just a sloppy, lazy, arrogant, no good guy. You know what I mean? For a few years there, and so there were some dates in there where I didn't see that then. You know what I mean? I didn't because I still thought I was the same guy, but there were a handful there toward the end of my college years, and then when I first moved to Tennessee, that it was like I would get really excited about a date, and I would go out with a girl, and it would just be nothing. You know what I mean? Like you're so into it. Well, the one of them became a lesbian. I mean, that was
the bad date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and I would just get so into it, and then it would just be like, whew, just nothing. That's like those are the worst dates. It wasn't like the bad things happened or I wrecked my car or, something silly like that. It was just that at the end of the night, it would just be like, man, that didn't go like I hoped it would go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no phone, there's no callback. This was pre-internet.
Okay, so it wasn't a bad date, but I had a coworker set me up with her sister. And her sister was really nice girl. I just wasn't interested. And it was like one of those things where it wasn't like, oh, here you go, set up, and then you guys go somewhere. Like I went for dinner at the coworker's house with her and her husband, and then her sister was there and me, and like they kept talking like I was going to date this girl forever. Like, oh, maybe David will take you to a movie sometime, and like this and that, or you want to do this. Like I bet you and David could do this someday. And like,
that's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. And then like we played Wii for a little while. It was like when Wii was real new, and then they were trying to. It was very apparent they were trying to give us alone time, and they were like, well, we got to go somewhere. We'll see you back. And I was like, you know what? I need to get going too. And they were like, really? Because it was kind of early. And I was like, yeah, it was Sunday night.
Right.
I got to do wash.
Oh!
And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah.
Shave my back.
I was like, I'm not going to have any clothes for tomorrow at work if I don't go do it. I'll see you guys later. It was a lot of fun. Bye. And then I went and hung out with other people.
Dude.
It was, yeah. Yeah, my friends still make fun of me for that one. But on the same line of things, something that's semi-awkward that's been coming up on dates that I've been on recently is the girl having seen Geek Love.
Oh.
and not telling me until like I pick them up or during the date and be like, so I saw you on TV. And then I'm like, that's weird. That's just weird, you know?
Does it play in your favor?
Usually. That's the thing. It's never been detrimental.
Right.
You know.
Well, they wouldn't be with you.
You're right. Exactly. But it's kind of, because even just watching Geek Love with other people, even though I had a great time and I'm still friends with Anna and everything, and it was great, but it's still kind of a very awkward thing to have happened.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So.
Well, at least it's working in your favor.
Yeah. Yeah, at least it's not. I mean, maybe there are girls who start talking to me and then they see that and then they're like, they don't talk to me anymore. I don't know. Obviously, I don't pick up on things.
Honestly, I have no idea what's going on around me.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it's like to date today with the internet. I just can't even that has to be such a different thing. You're in the same boat as me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to be able to look at somebody's profile and you know what I mean, and see who they're connected with and
what
like
they like, all the
do
things
this like
they
forensic
like.
research.
What happened to the walking and buying a girl a drink and talking to her?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Well, these days, usually it's I sit down and be like, so how close are you to Jason Mundock and Keith Slesser? Because this might be a problem. That's usually how it starts.
I'd buy that.
I'd
buy
could be
that.
a problem for you. I am definitely a liability.
Okay, so several people have asked us how we feel about J.J. Abrams being selected to direct the new Star Wars movie. Now, we know Jason's up in arms about anything sci-fi, so...
That's not true. That is not true. If I knew who that guy was, I would have an opinion.
Okay, J.J. Abrams... did you see the new Star Trek movie?
The most recent one.
The newest one.
Yes.
He directed that.
Okay.
And that was good. Did you like that?
No.
Okay, so... That's a no for Jason and out. And what he directed,
But
he
would
does
you
TV shows.
dislike it because of the directing style or because
I have
of
no
the
idea.
story and
Just
the
didn't
fact
like it.
that they destroyed?
I didn't hate it. To me, Star Trek was... I don't like it when things become... it's me, it's not the movie. I don't like it when things become all action, like, for the sake of action, one-liners. Yeah. When, for me, Star Trek is... There's a depth to it. There are those layers. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a fan of Sherlock Holmes. I'm a fan of the whole character, the whole paradigm. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching the 1980s Adventures of Sherlock Holmes with Jeremy Brett, which is fantastic. Like, it's the truest
To the book.
to the books that I've seen. Just the way he does it. He's eccentric and he's mad, and I love it. And when the most recent one came out, and he was like this, who was the star of that?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, it was almost like a superhero. I was just like, forget it. I'm done with that. And I felt like that even some of the later generation movies, I felt started to go in that direction of like turning them into Bruce Willis, like when Data has one-liners.
Yeah.
You know. The lock and load stuff. I was like, come on.
Yeah. You know, okay, so for me, Star Trek, one of the reasons I like Star Trek better than Star Wars in general is, I don't know, I'm like attracted to the more cold, civilized, militaristic environment that Star Trek, the series, is. Like, it's very, like, there is structure, and, like, you stick to this, like, right. Everyone has, like, their place.
Rank and order and all that. Yeah,
but at the same time, everyone's happy with it. Like, it's not, like, a forced... bad thing. So I've always liked that a lot more than Star Trek's just a lot more chaos and action. My personal opinion on this, I really liked the new Star Trek movie because I felt like they were kind of going for this being a new universe where that was the norm and not the other way.
Yeah.
The Star Trek that we're used to. So I was okay with it. Scott Herzog when he asked about this, he said, in the Star Trek movie, R2-D2 is in it.
Star Wars movie.
Star Trek. In the Star Trek movie that J.J. Abrams did.
Oh, really?
He snuck R2-D2 into it.
Oh, really?
And so he said, do you think that he'll sneak the Enterprise into Star Wars?
Where was R2-D2?
In the wreckage. At one point, he's floating in space. If you look it up, you can find pictures of it.
All right.
Yeah, it was like a true Easter egg. You had to really be looking for it. But it's once you know it's there, you're like, it's R2-D2. So
So all that being said, from my perspective, is it's fine. You know, it's just that that's and Star Wars to me is that other way.
Right.
It was always action and one-liners and cutesy stuff, you know. And so if they're gonna, you know, that seems like an appropriate fit, you know. Whereas with Star Trek, you know, I want those deep
dialogue, social issues being dealt with.
Right.
Yeah.
Picard, you know.
Yeah.
We gonna lay it down, Keith? You care either way?
I think it's a good fit. I would say, based on the style, I think it does fit. But then again, I'm not overly excited for the Star Wars movie because I'm just kind of like, eh.
Did you see the?
I mean, I am excited to the fact that because George Lucas isn't in control of it, I think that it
could
might
be good.
It could be good, right, as opposed to the other 3 that he came out with. But the first 3 were great, but
is that the conventional wisdom? Because I had babies when the new 3 came out, so I was not paying attention at all.
Right.
The prequels that came out, they got better as they went, but I didn't think they were nowhere near, in my opinion, as good as the original.
Overall, the dialogue is horrible. George Lucas had too much control, where in the other ones, like, he kind of handed off a lot of stuff to other people.
Yeah.
So, have you ever seen the prequels?
I saw the first one in the theater when it came out.
Okay.
Because you kind of had to, because it was like, all right, finally, you know, this thing. And it was around 2000. We were moving. It was kind of a whole life shift for us. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And I was phasing out of liking movies in general, or especially theater experience. Yeah. After my Braveheart marathon.
Right.
And I told you guys about that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we saw, what was the second one?
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Okay, so I remember seeing that like on DVD at home, and then I never saw the
third one's the best of them.
Third one's the best of those 3. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should watch it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's been so long, you might need to refresher.
You watch the whole thing.
Yeah, watch all 3. I mean, have the girls like that kind of stuff?
We watched Star Wars with them.
Okay, so they might like it.
I think they would probably dig it. Yeah,
it's more aimed. Especially the first 2 are more aimed towards their probably age bracket.
Yeah,
so they might
I was actually a lot younger than them when I saw the first ones.
Right.
I mean, they're 10 and almost 12 now. So I was 6 and 8 or 6 and 9 when I saw the first.
And it was awesome, right?
So, yeah, it was that's freaking out of control.
That's the thing about J.J. Abrams. I think it's which the other ones with George, the prequels were the same way, but it didn't have the same feel as like when I think of Star Wars, I think of those first 3. What I watched when I was growing up as a kid, and they had a certain feel to them, like,
right.
And none of the new ones had that feel to them.
We'll see. If anything, he's a fanboy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, since he put R2-D2 in Star Trek. So,
yeah, I would say so.
So he'll at least do the source material justice.
Yeah.
So there's that. So we got a question from Quinn Baker. We're all familiar with Quinn. She's awesome. She asked, why is she awesome? Duh, because she's Quinn, and she asks, when is she coming back? And the answer to that is Quinn, as soon as you get here. Okay, so moving on to our last question. This one was asked several times as well, and it was about gun control, and I think that's kind of like a hot topic right now. Gordy Miller stated, if you want to ban guns, why not ban alcohol? Thoughts
of banning guns versus alcohol?
Or if you're going to ban guns, why not ban alcohol?
Well, because we need to have something to do if we can't shoot guns anymore. Well, I think that, first of all, I think they're 2 very different things. I don't think that's like not even comparable. Alcohol versus
is the argument about
guns,
drinking and driving and death?
I think the argument's more based on the idea that just with all the shootings and everything, people are hot on the gun control issue.
No, I get that part, but I mean, why compare it to alcohol?
Probably just, probably accidents and abuse.
I mean, I'd be curious to see what the statistics are as far as deaths by alcohol versus deaths by guns, but I don't know.
Here's something that I was...
They did try banning alcohol once, though, and didn't go over so great.
And someone had mentioned that in a comment, like what makes them think that gun control would go over as well.
Right.
But
Genie might be out of the bottle.
yeah,
There may be just too many guns in existence.
Right.
You got to look at like Switzerland, or I think it's Switzerland or Sweden. One of them. Everyone has an AK-47. Like you reach a certain age, you have to do
Military
training,
Yeah.
and then you're issued. You
get to keep your gun.
You get to keep your gun, and then so everyone knows how to handle a gun. Everyone has a gun, so I mean, crime's down because people aren't going to break into your house when they know you've got a gun. So, I mean, who knows if
Where
that
are you
would
going
work?
with this one?
Right.
You were
That's what I
going
was just
somewhere.
saying. Yeah.
The argument,
So-
the argument's in the other direction as far as gun control, though, with countries as far as deaths. I mean, crime in general might not be down, but there are definitely less deaths by gun in like England or in London or whatever because it's just illegal. You cannot have a gun there. And the whole argument of, well, then only the criminals will have guns. Well, but the criminals don't have guns over there either. Like the whole thing with gun control is the argument with the whole is it the Second Amendment right of the right to bear arms is what's the purpose of that amendment? And the argument in favor of gun control is saying, well, they say we could have guns, but they didn't say we couldn't regulate it. But then the argument against it is the purpose of that was not to protect us in our houses or to go hunting. The purpose of it was as a check against tyranny. So any gun that the U.S. military can have, the U.S. population should be allowed to have too, because it keeps it even. That said, I don't know too many citizens who own tanks, Scud missiles, or Apache helicopters. So, it's kind of a moot point as far as protecting yourself against the government, because if the government wants to take out your militia, they already outgun you.
In an earlier conversation before we got started, I was talking to Jason, and I said that for me, the difference between gun control and alcohol control is that alcohol. How did I say it? It was
Death by alcohol is an accident
Yeah.
or neglect versus
where
intent.
With guns it's intent. Like
It's true.
someone doesn't just pick up. I mean,
You
there is
can accidentally-
neglect with a gun,
yeah.
but like the big issues that are on the table now, like
Or people
school
who are
shootings,
trying
like,
to kill people.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
not like, oops, I walked into this school with a gun, and oops, I shot it. Like, but when you're a DUI or something, I mean, it's a form of neglect. You don't get in the car when it crashes car into another person.
Like today, I'm going to drink a 6-pack of Budweiser and go drive my car into the opposite lane.
You heard it here tonight, so when you hear the accident, we have confession.
Confession ahead of time. It was intended, officers.
I'm very ill informed when it comes to this issue, but I do. I mean, I see arguments and I see people making arguments on both sides of this, and I think I don't know. With most of these things, the issue is kind of bigger than the minutia of the individual arguments. Like, you see all these things about, well, all these crimes, these shooting sprees that were stopped because somebody had a concealed weapon and they fired on the shooter and nobody died except the shooter. And so you never hear about it on the national news, you know what I mean? You hear these stories come out. People will bullet point those kinds of stories and say, we see that person wasn't able to shoot up that church because somebody stopped them at the door and was able to, take them out. Then you hear, of course, the other side, which is the tragic school shootings or, the movie theater shootings or whatever, where the guy walks in and shoots 20 or 30 people. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very hard to say right after a school shooting, I think it'd be great if everybody had all these weapons. You know what I mean? That's fantastic. I mean, you can't. But I can see the arguments on both sides. I just think that like with a prohibition against weapons, it's just a bigger culture shift. It's a bigger culture shift than just suddenly having a law to ban it.
Right.
Because there are so many guns already in existence, I flip the argument on its head and say, if we're not going to ban alcohol, why are we banning weed? I mean, why, you know what I mean? Like, why aren't we just regulating and taxing and selling weed down at the corner store rather than that whole, and I know that's mixing issues, but, I think that it's apples and oranges, and there's arguments for both sides. People have arguments against that too, and people have arguments on either side. So it's just in this climate when there's an incident that happens, It took about 47 seconds for the for the politics to come out when the Connecticut shooting happened.
Yeah.
And then it took, a couple of weeks for it to sort of dissipate, except for the hardcores who are still fighting about it. But they're going to fight about it anyway,
Exactly. Well, if people want to hear more about your hardcore opinions, Jason, how can they?
We do not talk about gun control on Around the Wood Stove.
Well, how can people find out what you've got to say?
Woodstovehouse.com. You can read or listen to the podcast. We have a blog that Steve Carlson and I post to a few times a week. And the podcast is called Around the Wood Stove. It's a 30-minute interview podcast that features the artists and those who make the arts happen in Lancaster, PA, where it is 12 degrees in Keith's garage.
It's 50 degrees outside.
Put the AC on. Got a little balmy in here.
You're going to get out and warm up a little
David's
bit.
breathing.
Well, as always, you've been listening to the Lancast, and we thank you for that. If you want to be a part of this discussion, what you can do is continue the conversation within the comments on Facebook or on the website, thelancast.com, on the post for this show. Also, if you'd like to submit a question for the next Guys Night, please start now. Leave it in either of those areas where I said you can leave a comment, or email it at feedback@thelancast.com. So once again, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
And I'm Jason Mundock.
And this was Guys Night.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton,
And I'm Keith Slesser.
asking, are you in the cast?
Where was R2-D2?